A good Erev Shabbos to you, and I hope you're all well. Firstly, Mazel Tov this week. Mazel Tov to Rabbi Chapper and Dan Bomstick on the birth of their son, to Rachel and Nick Mandel on Talia's bat mitzvah, to Shirley Henley on the birth of a great-granddaughter in Israel. We wish Refuah Shlema a full and speedy recovery to anyone who's unwell. And we wish Arich Hashamim long life, to Louise Saig on the sad passing of her brother, to Nigel Gilby on the sad passing of his mother, and to Mark Macias on the sad passing of his mother, and to anyone who's observing a Yortzeit in the coming week. So your meal doesn't turn out quite as expected. The holiday wasn't quite the dream you'd hoped of, and the new gadget isn't quite as impressive as the advert promised. How do any of these or similar scenarios leave you feeling? Upset? Disappointed? Let down? How do we deal with disappointment? Someone once asked, expectation is the root of all heartache. Now that may or may not be true, but at least it recognizes that when we experience disappointment, our hopes and expectations might be out of line with the reality. And we all feel this way from time to time. And some of these disappointments will not make much of a difference. But there are also disappointments that will leave us feeling angry, sad, hurt, and betrayed. And this happens especially when we've been let down by someone we trust or respect, someone who is in a position of authority. But we're not alone in feeling this. Because not just once, but twice Yaakov Avinu faced disappointment in his life. The first time, he was actually disappointed with himself. When he sent messengers to Esav, his brother, he said, Im Lavan garti vayachad ata. I stayed with Lavan and remained until now. And famously, playing on the similarity between the letters of the two Hebrew words, Rashi comments, garti, I stayed with Lavan, v'tarag mitzvah shamarti, yet I still observed the 613 mitzvahs and did not learn any of his evil ways. That fascinatingly, Rav Meir Shapiro of Lublin explains that in fact Yaakov wasn't praising himself for remaining from all this time. Instead, he was actually expressing his disappointment. He was actually saying, while I remained firm in my observance of the 613 mitzvahs, I failed to learn from Lavan to do them with the same dedication and zeal with which he pursued his evil ways. And then later on, when his sons Shimon and Levi wiped out the whole of Shechem after the incident with Dinah, Yaakov says to them, you brought trouble on me, creating hostility between me and the inhabitants of the land. He's clearly disappointed with their behavior, and in his blessing to them before he died, he once again criticized them in an expression of his dissatisfaction. And Yaakov wasn't alone. The Torah tells us that his father Yitzchak was disappointed with the choice of wives that Esav made. Avraham was deeply troubled by the need to send away Yishmael. And imagine Moshe Rabbeinu's disappointment not being allowed to enter the land of Israel, let alone his disappointment facing the complaints and constant rebellions of the Jewish people. And so we all face disappointments during our life. But how do we respond to them? Well, we do well to keep in mind the teachings of Mesillas Yesharim. For it says that it's impossible for a person, whatever level of perfection they may have reached, to not have many deficiencies, whether due to their nature or due to their family and relatives, due to certain events that happen to them or due to their own deeds. As Shlomo HaMelech so wisely says, Ki adam ein tzadik ba'aretz asher ya'aseh tov v'lo yechetza. For there's no one so righteous on earth who does only good and never sins. We're all human. Everyone makes mistakes, some larger than others. You know what? When it's religious people, when it's those we've trusted and respected, those in positions of authority, we tend to judge not only them, but what they represent as well. But I say this, we should never judge Judaism by Jews. Judaism is perfect. Jews are imperfect. Every time, just before we're about to take out the Sefer Torah, we say the paragraph Baruch Shemay. Now, we might have missed it, but it contains the best formula for avoiding disappointment. We say, Lo el anash rachitzna. Not in any man do I put my trust. V'lo abal Elohim smichna. Nor in any angel do I rely. Ela be'elahad ishmaya. Only on God. To who elahad kashot, who is a God of truth. V'oraisa kashot, whose Torah is truth. Nuviyahu kashot, whose prophets are truth. Umasegei lemabad tavun v'tukshot. And who acts liberally with kindness and truth. Friends, we can only trust in God. And if we're to avoid disappointment, then we should always remember that. Good Shabbos.